Without knocking the microphone out of the back of my pocket, but yeah. So, before we get started here, got a little giveaway here. You can enter and win as many as a dozen blurbs. So, if you want a QR code, swipe that. Feel free, take a moment, take a picture, it'll last longer, you know, that whole thing. But yeah, like literally, do take the picture. It wasn't totally a joke. Come on in. Anyone who wants to be closer, you'll see that I'm shorter. It's like from behind, it's like, I don't know how tall he is. And then you come closer. Remove all doubt, right? All right. Well, let's get going on this. This is a behind-the-scenes look at a $90,000 royalty month with Amazon ads. I'm Bryan. Who is Bryan? Founder and CEO of Best Page Forward and author Ad School. Written over 6,000 blurbs. Helped over 30,000 authors learn Amazon ads. My podcast, the Sell More Book Show. How many Sell More Book Show listeners are in here? I'm sorry Claire is leaving, but thank you for listening to the show. We really do appreciate it. Episode 500, I guess, released today, which is very cool. Find the video. We're wearing onesies. So, I'm really excited that I've had the opportunity to speak at every 20 Books since the Eagle first landed at Sam's Town. And Amazon Ads has even asked me to come run webinars with them. I'm doing one with them on Tuesday. And so you're getting somewhat Amazon-approved information here, I guess, somewhat. You know, this wouldn't all pass legal, I'll tell you that. But I'm also an author of 8 novels, 30-plus nonfiction books and workbooks, sold over 150,000 copies of my own books. But what do people say about me? What do some people say about me? Bryan Cohen cashes in on what's hot in self-publishing and is only interested in making money from authors. Ooh, it's a little awkward. Thought we were going to go positive with this. I asked my team to make this slide. Ooh, it's a little rough. The low sales ranks of Bryan's fiction show that what he teaches doesn't work, and so you shouldn't work with him. Ooh, man, cuts deep, right? Real good. Bryan Cohen's a nice guy, but what he teaches is out of date and doesn't really work. Very nice. I love seeing that comment. I know the person who makes it every quarter or so. Bryan has only sold 150,000 copies of his books, and that definitely makes him a non-expert. That one was nice because it was posted on a Facebook ad, and it was spoken by one of the speakers at this event. Burn, right? Right? That was a good one. That was a good one. Bryan Cohen isn't a real author. This is good. Yeah, take pictures of this one. So, and to all of this I say, I know you are, but what am I? But really, like, I'm a sensitive person. And this does hurt, because I identify as an author, I identify as a teacher. But when you see the peanut gallery out there, it does really, make you question things. And it does make me feel unsafe sometimes. So many of you came and saw me this morning, or you've hung out with me in various places, and y'all are all awesome, and 99% of the author community is really awesome. But these things definitely hurt, And it makes me question, well, should I keep going? Should I keep doing all of this? And it might, well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll take all the validation you guys have, honestly. It's early. So it might feel similar. The feelings that I feel when I see those comments are probably similar to when you get a 1-star, or when that internal critic is coming at you and saying the things she likes to say. And it's really hard to keep going and keep moving and keep doing the things when those comments are coming at you. And you might even question whether you're in the right genre or whether you should write at all. But today, I'm committed to showing you Amazon ads are not just about making more sales, and we will go into some fun advanced tactics and such today, but I think they can help show you the path forward in your career. And they can actually circumvent some of these inner critics, these outer critics, Because if you follow the data and you keep following the data that Amazon gives you, it can actually tell you what to do next. And that's very valuable. People come up to me, it's like, so how many books should I have? How many things should I do when I have Amazon before I run Amazon ads? I say 1. Because you run ads to it, you might be able to actually find out, well, should I continue this 10-book series? Because if book 1 doesn't really sell, maybe you shouldn't write 9 more of them. And so it can be really, really helpful. So here's what you'll learn today. You're going to learn how 3 authors recognized success, overcame drops in sales to reach $90K per month in royalties. You're going to learn the things that they ran into, positive and negative, the decisions they made that really made their career. You'll get a deeper dive into advanced tactics. You're also going to learn about my journey, discovering my own path through Amazon ads, and why you want to listen to that data. The data is sometimes going to tell you the opposite of what you've wanted to do for 10 years. But you have to listen, or you're just going to have 10 more years of the same exact results. That's just how it's got to be. So, sorry, I'm like being tough on you guys already. I'll save the full assault for later. So, here was my first fiction series. This was Ted Saves the World. The Ted Saves the World series. Didn't really think that one through. World Series. Yeah, not a lot of baseball fans in the room, maybe. But I thought this was the coolest thing. I got a photo shoot. I got local actors. Did a whole thing. Got reviews. Got some good reviews. It just didn't really sell. The ads that I ran to it didn't really sell. This dang dry air. I'm like, come on. How much water and tea can I put in my mouth? The answer is this much, plus double. So I actually unpublished this because the results were not great. I put a lot of time. I wrote 5 novels. Look, I made 10 grand. I probably spent 5 grand along the way. Profitable? Yes. Enough to live on? No. And so I did have to think about, all right, I mean, I kind of wanted to be the next Joss Whedon without all the creepy womanizing crap. I didn't find that out till later. Like, the dream was in the happy times where he thought he was so cool. But I really wanted to be that. And now I needed to think, well, what do I need to do differently? So let me tell you about our first case study here. This is Jeffrey Mason, 2018. Like a lot of you, either had a job or are still in a 9-to-5. He did not like it very much anymore. He had a lot. I'm going to move this microphone out of the way because, yeah, I'm cheating off my notes. But he took a lot of cheap and free classes on Udemy, which was popular around the time. And he tried to learn the ropes that way. And I think that's a good way to start. I think we should all start learning by doing, taking action, learning things, doing the things that were recommended. He didn't have an editor. How many of you did not know you needed editing when you started writing your first book? I didn't know. Only a few of you. You all are really smart, and the rest of us, we're smart too, but in a different way. Like we're more like strategic thinkers. No, I don't know. But he didn't have an editor. He didn't know that what was going to happen from these books. And these were these wonderful journals for families. And he made $82 his first year in publishing. He didn't know this was eventually going to be a 7-figure thing for him. And so that initial stage, you can't always judge based on that first year of information. But he had that itch. He knew he wanted to create something. He knew he wanted to make something bigger, and he knew he wanted out of that 9-to-5 job. He found himself needing some extra income, so he relaunched his first book, the one that had made $82. And he made a book for couples, a journal for couples that each could like write in it and share it. And my wife would never do this kind of thing. But I'm sure there are couples out there who liked it. In fact, there were enough couples out there who liked it. He made $2 grand. He relaunched his first book. Even after just 6 months, he put it out with new material, edited, all that good stuff. So he tried it a second time around, and it worked better. Sometimes it's okay to make tweaks on these books that were like, no, I love that cover so much. We tried to run a cover business, and we had to shutter it in 6 months because we would like make this perfect research to market cover. We'd looked at the top 100, and we'd send it out, and the author was like, oh, it looks pretty good. Can you put a giant bird in the middle? We're like, no. It's like, okay, I don't want it anymore. Can I have a refund? And like, it wasn't all birds, but it was like 25% of people wanted something wacky. Sometimes you just need to actually study the market. And so it's really hard to give up on those original covers, those original books. But we need to tweak. We need to make changes. And he realized this. The things he made himself from a free course weren't going to hold up. The things you might have put out at first aren't always going to hold up the way you think. And that's okay. That's okay. We need to, writing is rewriting, publishing is republishing. I just made that up. Quinn, can you write that down somewhere? That was pretty good. So, no, seriously, write it down. Everyone write it down. Email me, brian@sellingforauthors.com. Brian said good thing, can be subject line. So, he put out a book for moms as well. He was like, these couples like it, I'm going to put out this book for moms. Because mom sharing her stories so that her kids see it, her grandkids see it, this whole thing. And it totally flopped. And he knew that this idea could work. He had a feeling, but it made no money. Ads to it didn't work. But he tried a book for dads. Tried a different direction. So we're already it's basically a year into his career. He's already relaunched one book. He's had a flop. And then he puts out this third book, and the third book takes off. Now, sometimes we have a book that takes off for us, right? It's like, we've never made $20, and now we have a book that made $20. That's still something to pay attention to. His took off to the tune of 5 figures in a month. But this was the really interesting thing. Every month where there was a holiday, he would crush it. Father's Day, crushed it. The month after Father's Day, no one's buying gift for dad anymore. Poor dad. And so his books were really seasonal. Now, I think we don't always think about that. Our books may sell better at certain times of the year. I used to write all these weird blog articles and learn random terms year on year. So year on year sales is how did October 2022 compare to October 2023? How did October 2021 compare to 22 and 23? Authors in the room who were like, I'm here for the advanced crap, Brian, and you're telling me change your cover and whatnot. Do you know your year-on-year sales? Do you know how 3 years ago in October did so that you can predict those trends? You should spend more money in months that you sold well in previous years. But we don't do that. We're looking at last month. And last month was a launch, but we don't think about that. We're like, oh, I made so much more money last month. I'm doing a bad job this month. No. There's data. There's stats. We can pay attention to them. We can learn from them. And so, as Jeffrey saw his holiday months do well, Valentine's Day, Father's Day, he said, all right, I'll write more books for more of these holidays. I'll write more of these gift kind of books. And then I'm going to use that to quit my job. Now, this is a step of focus, right? It's a very scary step of focus. As I say here, I wouldn't recommend it to 99% of people. But Jeffrey, who is an Enneagram 7, which means he's as excited as a golden retriever about things, he was so fired up about this idea, he knew it could work, and he gave it that opportunity. And I don't think we should quit our jobs necessarily, but I do think we should give these books that have opportunities the focus that they deserve. And if we can never spend that time to focus, we can never necessarily succeed. So Jeffrey had these great holiday successes. The first Christmas after his Father's Day book went big, he said, let's ramp up that ad spend. Let's find every book title that fits with these kinds of journals. Let's find every author name or publishing company that fits with these kinds of titles. Let's run auto ads. Let's run category ads to the categories that my book is in. And he spent $7,000 and made $52,000, which is not going to happen to most of us, unfortunately. But he saw that he had gift books. He did not sell nearly as many gift books in November. He did not have as good of a January. His royalties dropped by $40,000. He could say, I dropped by $40,000. Or he could say, every Christmas I'm going to spend a crap load, because that's what the data is telling me. And so paying attention to that was really, really helpful. Knowing that, hey, he kind of burned his bridge to his 9-to-5 job, he absolutely had to try to make it work. And so he put the ads out there, they spent. I know that a lot of you, how many of you have run Amazon ads they didn't spend? Exactly. So the things that Jeffrey had that he got right from the beginning, his titles, his subtitles, his blurb, his cover, well, not from the beginning, but he eventually got the covers right, and he got his 7 KDP keyword phrases right. I know Quinn had a talk on that yesterday. How many of you were in Quinn's talk about setting up the Amazon ads? Great. If you didn't see it, go watch the replay. Because we sometimes think, we've even had folks, 7-figure authors, come to us and they say, this book isn't selling as well as it used to. And we say, have you looked at your keywords? It's like, my keywords are fine. Like, I set those up. They were fine 3 years ago. Things change, right? We had our big category catastrophe earlier this year where everything got shifted around because it used to be 10 categories and now it's 3. And so things changed to the point that you might need to revisit that stuff, even if you're successful. We've had authors like that who, once they changed their keywords, looked at their subtitles, their sales went back up. Their ads started performing again. And everyone's like, well, what's the advanced technique? What's the advanced technique? Sometimes resetting that foundation is the most important advanced technique you can have. We have an author I'll cover a little bit later. Once we tweaked her keywords, we could spend as much as we wanted to. Just from tweaking her 7 KDP keywords, we could spend as much as we wanted to, and it's a good thing she was making 6 to 1. $6 for every dollar she spent. And so sometimes that metadata is the most important thing. Now, Jeffrey gave his mom's book, I think it was a 3rd shot at this point. It had flopped twice before. But he said, look, I've got Father's Day, I've got Christmas. The mothers deserve this book to succeed, right? And, you know, his bank account deserved it too. When he finally got that working, $68,000 a month. Now, yes, it was COVID. Mother's Day 2020, there's always going to be a little bit of luck involved with some of these things. But if you are working as hard as you can to get these things right, luck is more likely to come to you. And very few people work as hard as Jeffrey does. Now, it wasn't linear. Up for Mother's Day, down. Up for Father's Day, down. Down for about 4 months, up for Christmas. But he paid attention to this. And so he knew it wasn't his fault the ads were worse that month. He knew the world worked a certain way. So when he started to see his sales go down, and I mentioned this on the previous slide, I'm kind of skipping around a little bit. People saw Jeffrey Mason books really high in the rankings. Oh, I can make a mom book. I can make a dad book. We're all going to have, you know, if any of us are successful, you're going to have copycats. That's just how it is. We've had, I think there was a recent legal case where someone used almost the exact same pen name, changing like 3 letters of their name so that they could launch in that same genre. Don't be that much of a copycat, for sure. But Jeffrey decided, I got to be more pro here. I'm going to raise my prices. And he was terrified, y'all. He made $68,000 in a month. You don't want to change anything if you make $68,000 in a month, but he had to. anyone who is having success with ads, at some point, you're going to need to raise your prices. 99 cents is dead, in my opinion. Do discounts on it every so often. Don't launch at 99 cents. You deserve to make the full royalties. Even $2.99. $2.99 and $3.99, there have been studies showing that pretty much it's the same percentage conversion. So why not make the extra dollar? Price higher. If you are advertising, you need to bake in that price for the ads. And so going into Christmas 2022, he knew he wanted to up his game a little bit. And so he started doing negative targeting. I talked to like about 12 of you about negative targeting this morning. How many of you have done negative targeting before? Awesome. So what he started negative targeting was not only titles that were obvious not fit. Hunger Games? No. Harry Potter? No. He doesn't want traffic from those. But he would even start targeting journals that weren't a perfect fit. Meditation journal, not a perfect fit for a parent journal. He would actually negative target things that seem good. He would negative target things, I'm like whispering to you hilariously, but I'm on a microphone, so it doesn't work. Just like this presentation. No, just kidding. I hope. So he would even negative target the things that got tracked sales if they weren't a good fit. He made relevancy the most important thing. Do not necessarily double down on things that got tracked sales if they don't make sense. I have seen people get sales on the term book, book, book. Don't use book, 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 because it's not going to get you more success later. And that final month of 2022, he went all in. He knew he had his ads set up really, really well. He knew he had the negative targeting honed in, so only the best possible targets would get clicks. And he spent 56 grand. He took out a small business loan to spend 56 grand on ads. Don't do this unless you have a lot of data that says you're going to make money hand over fist. But he did. And he spent 56 grand to make $240,000 this past Christmas. He's looking to do the same again this December. So as he discussed this, he said, you're either going to write books or self-publish. I love that quote. You're either going to write books or self-publish. Self-publishing means you have to be a business. He was featured on the Today Show. He was on the Oprah website. Nothing has made his book sell like increasing his ad spend. Spending money on ads is just something you have to do. And if you're a beginner, spending money on ads is how you tell if your book has a chance in its current form. If it's not selling with ads, it's not because you need to try TikTok ads, Facebook ads, Snapchat ads, Pinterest ads. Take every course under the sun. We've all done it. I've done it. Like a crazed maniac, I've done it. And it's not going to help a book to sell better to try a different technique if the Amazon ads show that it's not selling. More often than not, 99% of the time. And that's why I rewrote and improved my TED Saves the World book. Because one, I didn't need to be promoting the World Series when I ran my ads. But still a bad joke, but it's going to grow on you. So just keep thinking about it. It gets funnier, like 10% funnier every time. So I changed it in the Viral Superhero series, which, hey, I wasn't thinking ahead to 2020, of course. But I doubled my sales. Rewrote the books, recovered the books, doubled my sales. Probably spent about 10 grand to make 25 grand. Better? Yes. Enough to make a career on? Still not. So I put in a lot of work, a lot of rewriting. I was rewriting. My daughter wasn't feeding so well when she was an infant. So I remember being up at 1 in the morning, bottle feeding her, and editing that book. It was, a nice moment with my daughter, a terrible moment with my book. And so I really tried hard. I put a lot of work into it. It still didn't work. At least not to the point I needed it to. So lesson 1, just because you failed once doesn't mean you should give up, but you may need to up your game, like Jeffrey did with the covers, with the editing, and with that negative targeting. So that's lesson 1. I agree, throat clearer. So a 3-year, it's like so echoey in here, I just love it. At least we haven't had the morgue go by. Who was here last year for that? Yeah, whenever a cart came rolling by, I was like, oh my gosh, another body here at Horseshoe is rolling down the hallway. So I know, 8:15's a little early for dead body jokes, but only a little. In 2012, Emily Carter Childs self-published a recipe book that received absolutely no traction. She openly said we could just ignore. I'm sorry, Emily, are you here? Are you? Shout. Yeah, it's you. Yeah. Sorry. But I think it's helpful for context because after learning that initial publishing process, she took 3 years to work on something that would sell a little better. And so this is like 3 years into the journey, 3.5 years to the journey, she put these fantasy books out. And she did the popular strategy at the time, going wide with that first book and making it permanently free, which was a popular strategy then. It still does have some merit now, but you obviously can't be in Kindle Unlimited if you have a permanently free book that is wide. Now, she didn't see a lot of movement into that journey, but she knew she was going to keep working and improving because she wanted to tell these stories. So she wrote 2 more fantasy books, boxed up the trilogy, and started writing a second series. First series doesn't sell as well as you want, write a second series. Sometimes that's the best advice we can give. She got a BookBub feature deal. How many people in 2017 or so got a BookBub feature deal, thought it was going to make your career? I definitely did. Yeah, I see a few of you. So newbies, this was a thing where BookBub would essentially give you like 40,000 to 100,000 free downloads of your first book. And it sometimes would lead to read-through, and we were all excited. And it would help for that month. She had her first $1,000 month with a BookBub feature deal. But the Facebook ad she was running at the time, she spent $800 to get there. Y'all, whenever someone posts, like, I made a great deal of money, ask them, what'd you spend on ads? Because you need to know that profitability there. So she started on a second series. It did a little better. Still didn't make everything, all of her life happy and shiny. So she worked on a third series. Sometimes you need to write more than one series to succeed. Whenever she got a BookBub, it would be great. Whenever she didn't, she would be break even or lose money. And that's the thing. Like, if you find one thing that works, but it's the only thing that works, and you can only do it every so often, it's not necessarily going to work out well. Like, there are people writing 12 books a year, and that's great until, you get injured or tired or you want to sleep again. And it's like, well, you don't want to burn out. Because if you burn out and launching books is the only thing you can do, what if you can't launch those books? So she began taking more classes so that it wouldn't just be about the BookBub feature deal. She took the free 5-day Author Ad Profit Challenge, the course that we run, in 2019, and she got a nice tax refund that year. She decided, I'm going to blow that right now on one thing, which was ad school and author ad school and coaching with us. And I tried to hold back the burp, and then it came out anyway. All they had that was open was the dang Lavazza Italian sub was all they had for breakfast. I went to Johnny Rockets, nothing, was closed. So my apologies for the spicy burp. So probably offensive, my apologies. So she spent that whole tax refund there. And she had bought other courses too. How many of you actively have purchased 5 or more author courses? Look around the room, you're not alone. So with Quinn's guidance in Author Ad School, because Quinn Ward was her coach, she decided, all right, I'm going to focus on one method. Because have you ever noticed these courses kind of teach differing methods? So if you try to do all of them at once, you fail. Because that's really sad, because it's happened to me. I know I cry about it. And so it's definitely one of those things where sometimes you need to focus on one direction, the band. No words needed. No words needed. So Emily had an incredible month. Over the course of 3 months running more ads, she hit her first $10,000 month. And one of the best parts about it was she spent only $3,000. So she made $7,000 in profit. Now, those things feel like overnight successes, right? But it was her third series, fourth if you count the cookbook. She was working really, really hard on getting better as a writer the whole time. But she was definitely worried. She had imposter syndrome. She thought the bottom could drop out of this any moment. I thought BookBub was going to save my career, and it, didn't really make it take off. So she said, I need more security here. So she worked on a fifth series, which was under a pen name she had used before, L.J. Andrews. And she tried writing fantasy again. So she went into reader groups. She was trying to figure out, well, what are the tropes? What are the common elements in fiction in this genre that people want? So she learned them. She learned them from the readers. She took notes. She saw what posts they were making on TikTok, what kind of things they wish they had in a book. Everyone's like, well, how do I find out what the readers want? Well, stalk the readers. Stalk the readers. And y'all, I know some of you in here make big bank. How many of you in here who make big bank are still trying to actively find what readers want more than what you have? Because that's what she was doing. She was still stalking people after a 5-figure month. She did not rest on her laurels. And she did not go find 20 different marketing methods. She went back to the craft. Don't forget the craft. And so she even went back and unpublished some of her old titles because she knew they weren't going to be as good as the new stuff she wrote, which is hard. It's like kicking your baby out. I don't know. You wouldn't kick a baby, except those funny YouTube videos where it's like releasing a baby out into the wild. Those are pretty funny. So Emily had gotten that 10K up even higher with the L.J. Andrews. And so she was able to hit 20K in royalties in January 2022. So her continuing to write her fifth series to keep going back and learn and get better was helping. But she wanted to go higher. So she decided to learn the world of book talk a little bit more. And it really helped because she started writing romantic fantasy, which was crushing it on book talk at the time. And she was able to get, between going viral on TikTok and using the Amazon ads, crazy $50,000 number. Now, I think this all synced up, people. She didn't just get lucky and go viral on TikTok. She was using TikTok to learn what to write, and then she wrote it painstakingly, and then it went viral on TikTok. So it all fit together. Like I said, ads plus TikTok, chef's kiss. And so she went in and did more negative targeting on the Amazon ads. And she actually worked with our agency, our author ad agency. We work with authors who make over $6,000 a month so that we're not stealing people's money. Newbie wants to give me money. I say, no, never, except for my course. Okay, so, but she tweaked the ads, and we tweaked the ads that she already have to try to negative target what wasn't a good fit. But we also tried this budget slamming technique, which was developed by Quinn Ward when they were trying to spend less money on their ads, turned all their budgets down to $1, and spend doubled. Said, oh, can we replicate this? Bringing the budget way up, slamming it down to a couple dollars, and then slowly feeding it less than what Amazon recommends. Amazon's like, do you want to increase your budget to $400? And like, no, Amazon, go home. Go home. Just give it $1. And it's like, okay. It's like Cookie Monster with your money. And so you just feeding it a little bit at a time has gotten ads that were only spending $5 a day to spend $200. You wouldn't do this if you weren't very profitable already, but it can work. Now, Emily really had a lot of success when she put all those together, hit that $90,000 month. And recently, she hit a $100,000 month on a launch month And just a few days ago, and we can make her feel real embarrassed and clap to her about this, but she sold a series to Penguin Random House, and she's going to keep publishing indie at the same time. And this was, I think a lot of this was the ads, plus the TikTok, plus busting her butt to write these incredible books. So let's make her feel embarrassed. Good job, Emily. You're awesome. Pretty nice 11 years after the cookbook, right? I know, I'm just going to keep embarrassing you about that. But it's amazing, you're crushing it. And she came up against some mindset issues as she did this, as her spend went beyond the 10K mark. And she said, I used to pinch pennies, but now I know that if it works, you have to keep doing it. If it's growing, then you have to keep growing it. If something is working, don't figure out the other 7 things you should be good at. Go double down on what's working. My data told me I was not going to be the next Joss Whedon minus the creepy stuff. It told me, hey, your writing prompt books have sold over 60,000 copies. Your books for authors have helped people write their blurbs and have helped you sell book descriptions. And your Amazon ad stuff has helped people to learn how to actually sell books. So I said, why am I ignoring my own data? I told everyone else not to. And so I said, maybe I'm not, at this point in my life, going to write this incredible fiction, but this is something I can do really, really well. So lesson 2, you may need to grow as a writer and start something new several times to find your success. If you're like, well, it's not going to be me, my first series is going to crush it, I am so sorry that you are wrong. I do apologize for your wrongness. But you can learn from that first book, those first couple books, and grow from there, just like Emily did. So Tina Trotter's pseudonym, her and her husband asked to use different names than their real names. They were kind of the reverse. They started with HarperCollins, and it didn't go as well as they hoped. They self-published the fiction. They got their rights back. Didn't go as well as they hoped. But then they started putting out new books. These books for early readers, for boys, focused on boys to learn how to read. And they did not know that this book, years and years, and 7 years after the first traditionally published deal, was going to be the one that worked. 7 years. But this was their first ticket to success. They kept writing both, though, for a while. The thing that was working really well and the thing that wasn't working so well, just like me with my books for writers and my fiction. Just like maybe a lot of us. We have something, I know an author who writes fiction and nonfiction. She's almost mad that her nonfiction sells better because she wants her fiction to succeed. But what if, much like Rob and Tina, they said, we're going to focus on what's actually working. We're not going to ignore what is actually giving us royalties. And so they decided, let's beef stuff up. They got some blurbs from Best Page Forward, which are still on the books to this very day. And nearly a decade after that deal with HarperCollins, they completely ditched the fiction, which was hard. And this is not me telling you to ditch your fiction. This is me telling you, if you have 2 separate paths and one is going way better, even if it's not the path you thought you were going to take, consider focusing on what's working now. You can always go back to stuff. Chris Fox is a great example. He wrote the book Right to Market. He wanted to write epic fantasy for many, many years. He wasn't ready yet. He waited until he was able to get his writing craft to that point he knew he needed to be, and now he just writes epic fantasy. But it's about a decade after he started. Sometimes the path you want, you're not ready for yet. Go with what is working. And so with those genre fiction books off the table, they made more books in the genre that sold, and they were able to go from a $1,000 a month to an $18,000 a month. And that seems like a drastic shift, but there is a drastic shift in your life where you stop doing the things that aren't working. There is a drastic shift in your life if you stop doing the things that aren't working. And you're like, Bryan, it's too early for all this real talk, but I am here to get you successful. So stop crapping around and stop doing the things that aren't working. Stop doing the things that you hate doing. That's tomorrow morning's talk. Stop doing the things that you hate doing and focus on what's working. And if nothing's working well yet, keep learning, particularly on the craft. So the problem is that some months, just like with Jeffrey, their profitability would go up and then down, and up and then down, because they had gift books too. And so they got some coaching from, I almost said quoaching, which is what we should call it when Quinn coaches people. Quoaching from Quad Cool. Got some coaching from Quinn at ad school and stopped doing the things that weren't working. Focused more on even the minutia of, well, which is working better? Let's keep focusing on getting a little bit better with our techniques. Hit a $50,000 month. Then they got copycats who even got their some of their ad account closed down. They couldn't run some of the ads because someone had stolen their business name and was running ads with it. But with a few calls to maybe a guy who knows a few people, we were able to get that scammer account closed down, the brand ads back up, and they hired the author ad agency ahead of Christmas 2022. They started the month with a $3,000 budget and spent it within 5 days. But they made $20,000. So we had to ask them, what do you want to do? And they said, okay, Quinn, let's spend more money. And that led to this $90,000 plus month. But one of the things we used with them, because they sell paperback books, stats like the ACOS, advertising cost of sale, which is usually crap, is actually helpful for paperbacks because the tracking's a little bit better. And so they were able to use something called budget rules, where you can tell an ad, if you run out of budget but the ACOS is below a certain amount, spend more. And those are the budget rules. Bid placements, you can actually, for certain placements like the top of search or on a product page, you can say, Amazon, could you spend 10% more for the top of search? Don't do this if you're a beginner. Only do this if you're already making some good money. Rather than increasing the bids, a lot of the time we will just increase those bid placements. So Rob and Tina still had to make some decisions even in that final month to make it work better. They said, you have to take off the cloak of pride with your books. To have success, you need to treat self-publishing like an apprenticeship. I was still learning too. I realized, stop the fiction, teach more authors. And that's one of the reasons we started Author Ad School and the Author Ad Agency. I trusted the data, and it's become the new dream. Now, lesson 3, your author career may shift. Your first path may not be your best path to success. I want you to all take a picture. I don't care if you're taking notes. Take a dang picture of this, because if you don't do this, you probably won't succeed. So I want you to remember it. Please, please. I'm going to change it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Takeaways. Self-publishing is an apprenticeship. To repeat success, you need to improve. I'll share these slides because we're over time. Focus on projects with potential. Like I said, I'll share them. For success to grow, you need more books. Once optimized, ad spend is your friend. Ad spend isn't your friend maybe yet. Ad spend is your friend when things are all optimized and ready to crush it. And only use advanced techniques when you are very profitable. Now, your author journey may not be what you planned. I know that mine wasn't. It ended up different. And maybe I'm not an author, but I am an advertiser. I am a small business owner like a lot of you. I am an educator, and I'm okay with that. My YA superhero books never took off, and I never got creepy like Joss Whedon. But I'm glad they didn't, because I think that this path ended up being better for me. If they had, I might not be up here talking with you. If they had, I might not have helped Jeffrey. Oh, I hope that isn't Jeffrey. Well, I had helped Jeffrey. I might not have helped Jeffrey, Emily, and Rob and Tina hit their $90,000 months with Amazon ads. And if I'd resisted what the Amazon ad data told me, who knows what October of 2023 would have looked like for me? Because I was writing this presentation, and I was procrastinating, and I looked at my income for that month, and it was $90,000. So I hit $90,000 in a month too. Thanks, y'all. Quiet golf claps. No. But if I had not focused on the ad data, that might have never happened. So that's why the ad data is so important. Thank you, guys. There's more info about our products, 5-day ad challenge, author ad school course, our coaching agency. For those of you in the know, we just got access to a platform that's very similar to AMG ads, but without a $10,000 minimum spend. So if you're like, ooh, I want Bryan and Quinn and Amy to run those ads for me, talk to me. This QR code is the same one in the first. Thank you to Craig and Jamie and everyone, the AV team. Can we get a round of applause for the AV team? I hope you have a fantastic rest of your conference, and thank you for listening to me today. Thanks, everybody.